You're gonna miss me by my walk. You're gonna miss me by my talk. Oh, you're gonna miss me when I'm gone.
It's Anna Kendrick and Cups on Soft Rock, Star 102.5, live and local across Moore County and the Sandhills. Monday morning, partly cloudy skies. We'll see temps in the upper 80s. Details will be coming up in just a few minutes. With your star forecast, it has been a very volatile week across Moore County and the Sandhills. The buzz on the street, you just have to say Dr. Bob, and someone knows exactly who you're talking about. We have got some members of the Board of Education. We've got Chair Bruce Cunningham and Board Member Ed Dennison in the studio with us this morning. Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having us.
Good morning to Moore County.
Yes. Let's just start off with last week's meeting. We got word on Monday that there was a possibility that Dr. Grimacy was going to be let go. At that time, no one knew that it was a divided board. No one knew for what reason. A week later, we still don't. But the meeting was already scheduled. It was your regular meeting Monday, correct? Last Monday.
Correct.
And then no.
That's you're talking about June 1st?
Yes, that was not a regular scheduled meeting. Or was it?
Monday was the meeting.
Monday was a closed session.
It was a closed session, correct.
Our regularly scheduled meeting
is tonight. Okay.
But we did have a work session.
Yeah, you had a work. I guess I should. Yeah, work session.
Right.
And I'm assuming that was discussed as that work session. Are you allowed to say that? Whether that was a topic that you discussed?
No, not at the work session.
Okay. But we found out that there was going to be a scheduled meeting on Thursday at 8 a.m.
Correct.
What was the purpose of that meeting? Was it specifically with Dr. Grimacy and his fate?
You're talking about the Thursday
meeting at 8 that was moved to the courthouse. Because this is the problem. Okay. Parents and people all across Moore County thought it was a very strategic plan for the board to choose an 8 a.m. meeting on a Thursday when they could not attend because they were going to work. And that has been the complaint of so many people. I can't be there to have my opinion voiced because of the time they chose.
Well, the meeting Thursday was for a personal confidential matter. I don't think it stated it was for Dr.
Grimacy. We have heard from several board members that the reason that Dr. Grimacy was let go, and I want to make sure everyone knows, both of you voted to keep Dr. Grimacy, or you didn't vote to let him go.
Against the motion to let him go.
We keep hearing if we all knew what the personnel matter was, then we would see the way the other board members saw it. Why can't we be told? What is keeping us from knowing this information?
Like every other employee of Moore County Schools, Dr. Grimacy is covered by the North Carolina statute respecting confidentiality of personnel issues. And that is why we're not at liberty to disclose internal communications. I will say, however, that I have seen no evidence of illegal, immoral, unethical, or any other basis for a dismissal or involuntary termination.
Okay, so
I agree completely.
Ed, you were very candid at last Thursday's meeting, and I appreciate that. When the vote came down for Dr. Upchurch, and I just want to say Dr. Upchurch is a fantastic man, and I hate that he's kind of embroiled in all this, but if you know Dr. Upchurch, he really is a great guy. But you decided not to vote. I'm sorry, Bruce, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, finish.
Yes,
Ed,
yes.
What was your reasoning behind that?
Well, one of our primary duties as a school board member is selection of a superintendent. And I've been through that selection 2 times here in Moore County, and I've been through it in Michigan. And it's extremely important that you understand the person that's going to be superintendent extremely well, get a chance to interview them and ask them questions, get all their background information. And I felt this decision was too critical for me because we've only been here 10 years, and everybody else on the board has known him for years.
Yes.
And I cannot make that decision unless I personally am confident that all the information I have is what I need to make that decision.
And I felt compelled to vote yes in favor of Dr. Upchurch after voting no to terminating Dr. Grimacy, because as board chair, my responsibility is to keep chaos from happening with no leadership. And so it was critical that we had a superintendent in place. And that's why I changed my vote from no to yes. And I respect Charles's position, and I respect Ed's. And if I could make one comment following up what your first question was, Moore County Schools would not be paying a person $165,000 if there was any reason to terminate that person.
Well, that's the next question. Go ahead.
Because there was not an involuntary termination. This was a contract buyout pursuant to the provisions of the employment contract.
Okay. Yes, I understand what you're saying. And I'm going to tell you that has upset a lot of people, and it's not just parents, it's taxpayers. My teachers, my kids' teachers are buying materials for the kids' classroom because the money's not there. But yet we're going to buy this contract out. And now we've got to pay Dr. Upchurch during his interim, correct? He is not going to do this just for fun.
We now have a contract with Dr. Upchurch.
And then there's going to be a search for the next one. So we're talking thousands of dollars.
And defense of a lawsuit.
So this is going to cost the taxpayers
thousands and thousands
of dollars.
Thousands.
What next? What happens tonight?
Tonight is our regularly scheduled board business meeting. We have deliberately placed a lot of things on the consent agenda so that we can move through the business portion of the meeting in order to allow public comments to take place.
How long will people have for public comments? Because you know it's going to be a packed house tonight. You know that. I mean, that's the reason it's been moved.
That's why we've gone from
that small, intimate setting
to the courthouse to Union Pines.
And it's in the auditorium, correct?
It's in the auditorium at 6:30. The meeting starts at 6. But there's a closed session prior to that. Then the open session starts at 6:30. Your question about how long and what the parameters are of the public comments. Each person would have 3 minutes to speak. If they represent a group, they would have 5 minutes to speak. There will be 2 30-minute sessions of public comment. We thought a solid hour front to back
would probably be better.
So there will be a 30-minute session and then a break, and then we'll do some board action, and then we'll continue with a 30-minute section of public comments, and hopefully everybody will have their chance to be heard.
And I'm sure people have questions about what we're going to discuss at the meeting tonight. Well, our agenda has been published, and we have established when I was chair that we do not approve the agenda until after we have a closed session, because items may come up at the closed session we want to add to the agenda.
Okay.
So we have that flexibility, but I can't tell you what those items are going to be, or if there are going to be any items until we meet in closed session.
And this is published on the Moore County Schools website, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm hoping you guys can answer this. You would agree that the majority of parents within the school system want Dr. Bob reinstated. I'm sure you've heard that.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Is that an option?
Yes.
It is an option.
Yes.
Have you talked with Dr. Bob about it?
I have talked with many, many, many people for the past week.
I'm sure you have, Bruce. You've been quite the busy man.
Yeah, I think I've seen my office an hour in the last 5 days.
So you've talked with many people about it.
Yes.
Can I ask your personal stance on it? Can you share that with us? Would you like to see Dr. Bob
I think
reinstated?
I made that clear
Ed,
at the meeting.
you would as well.
Yeah. Oh, yes. If there's anybody's doubt, there shouldn't be anybody's doubt in anyone's mind.
I guess I have to ask this too. This has been a question. You know, you guys are elected officials. The citizens of Moore County went to a booth and they said, this is who we want to represent our school system. At that meeting, I think a lot of...
Which meeting?
I'm sorry, Thursday morning. I think a lot of people were just so surprised when voices were heard and people spoke up and they told the board, we do not agree with this. That the board, the majority, and you two excluded, and also Charles excluded, they voted against what the people wanted anyway. And that's totally against, to me, what we're asking our leaders that we elected, our officials that we elected to do. That, would you not agree with that? That's kind of, I mean, it really surprised people that vote went the way it did, despite what everybody had said.
I'm not going to speculate on what another board member's motivations were.
Right.
I voted the way I felt I needed to.
And I did also, but I think this is a good lesson for a lot of people and what's happened.
It's a great civics lessons for our children, I'll tell you that.
I've been trying for years to get the community involved in education. A few years ago when I was chair, I gave talks to Rotary clubs and Kiwanis clubs and different organizations. And one of my main themes during that was we need, as a community, to all believe that our students can succeed. And until we get to the point where everyone's involved and everyone believes that can happen, it's not going to happen. And this is a great opportunity to ensure that happens.
And following up Ed's comment about getting the community involved, in the past 3 days, I have received a flood of emails from people offering their service, requesting to be considered for a position on the new board. Military spouses, retired educators, a student, a college student who said he'll drive 2 hours from his college to board meetings, retired people, educators.
Radio DJs.
Radio DJs. What about you?
No, I respect your office and how much you guys work.
And let me say this, when people approach me in the grocery store and say, you must be crazy, or I wouldn't have your job for anything, I respond the same way to everybody who says something like that. I love it. I think it's noble work.
It is noble work, and you guys are doing so many things behind the scenes that people have no idea.
How did you know that?
Because I'm with you. I've been to the schools and the initiative for technology when that was introduced, and I know how much you guys are involved. And I think people think that you guys meet a couple of times a month. You strike your gavel and that's it. And it's a whole lot more than that. Going back to those positions,
it's helping kids, and that's good stuff.
Go ahead, Ed.
I'd like to make a comment, too. A lot of times people ask me, well, why don't you run for village council or commissioner? And I said, no, thanks. I said, my expertise is in school boards. I served on one in Michigan for 9 years. Being on a school board is not as difficult as most people may think. Really, when it comes time to make a decision, you simply make the decision based on what you think's best for the kids. If you're a commissioner or on a council, you have to listen to the adults all the time. And it's easy to make a decision on what's best for the kids.
And if anybody in your audience is interested in being considered, my email address is on the website. I've asked people to send me an email with a statement of why they would like to serve on the school board.
How does that work going forward? You folks were elected, but I guess, Bruce, it kind of lands in your lap, doesn't it? No, it doesn't.
No.
Oh, okay.
The board appoints the vacancies, the individuals to fill the vacancies.
Okay.
But let me say this. We have some fences to mend. And I assure you that Nick Paserno and the county commissioners will be included. Not in the decision-making process. That's our job, but the information process. So rest assured that nobody will be appointed that would be a surprise to Moore County Board of Commissioners, because we need to regain the relationship that we need to have with them.
No, I know that Jamie Bowles put a quote-unquote restraining order on the board to make any decisions. How does the legality of that work from this point forward?
There is a temporary restraining order that's in effect until June the 15th.
Okay.
If we are able to arrive at a resolution to the superintendency position, I am confident that Jamie Bowles will have the flexibility to say to his attorney, would you go to the judge and say, we need to allow this to happen?
Okay. Very good. If people want to get a hold of both of you, I know that, like you said, through email, that can both be found on the school board's website.
Yes.
So may our phone numbers.
Your phone. Oh, wonderful. How long before we look at filling those vacancies?
As soon as possible.
Okay, so this is a decision that's going to come quickly.
Let me talk to you about that. It needs to be a deliberative process, because what we're doing is very, very important for Moore County. It can't take too long because we have staffing issues that have to be resolved. I don't want to make any decisions on that until we have a full board. We're not even going to select a vice chairman of the board until we have a full board. So it's going to be long enough for deliberation, not too long for delay.
Okay, very good. We're going to ask you guys to hang out just a few minutes if you have time. We're going to take a break. Sure. And if people have questions, maybe call and ask you guys on the air. 692-2969, 692-2969. I do want to say, Ed, you said you were on a school board in Michigan, you said for nine years?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you seen anything like you've seen in the past week, the support for a superintendent like we have for Dr. Bob?
Not in the district I was in, but I have in neighboring districts.
So you know that the parents are, this is a really passionate issue for them. They feel so strongly about it.
Sure.
It's called democracy.
That's right. We're as a school board, the superintendent's the only one that's responsible to us, and as the school board, we're responsible to the community.
If you have a question for Bruce or Ed, you can call us at 692-2969, 692-2969, or if you have a comment, we would love to hear from you as well. 692-2969.
I think those three guys made the right decision, and I know how hard it is for this, and I have went into the classrooms and been there and done that. I know how these teachers are spending their hard-earned money to buy supplies and everything for the classroom for these children, and I just feel like that the teachers and the students of Moore County are going to suffer if we don't get someone like Dr. Bob back in the system for us. And I fully support Dr. Bob in any way that we can, and I'll be glad to help out. Bruce and Charles and Ed all know me, and they know that I am there to help out in any way I possibly can.
Well, we thank you for your phone call. We really appreciate it.
You're quite welcome. You guys have a wonderful day.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. 692-2969, 692-2969. If you have a question or a comment. Money has been, we talked about this briefly, money is a big, big issue for this situation. It's, to buy out Dr. Grimacy's contract, pay Dr. Upchurch for his interim time, and then, of course, the search for a new superintendent, if that's how it goes.
And to defend a lawsuit.
And the lawsuit, because there could be one.
There is one.
There is one. Okay, right. There is one.
I don't know how much it's already cost us.
Where does this money come from?
Taxpayers.
But if we don't have certain dollars to buy the Chromebooks, we don't have the money to do this. It's got to come from somewhere. Is there a fund?
I'll tell you where I think it comes from. It comes from the money we could be using in educating our students.
692-2969, 692-2969. The meeting tonight will be held at Union Pines. It's going to be in the auditorium. Closed session begins at 6. Open forum begins at 6:30. The recall, that's something everybody's talking about. What's the next step? What happens with this recall? How does this work? I'm confused by it. I know most people are.
The next step is a hearing is scheduled for Monday, June 15th at 2 o'clock. to determine whether or not the restraining order would continue in effect, which would be converted to something called a preliminary injunction, or whether the judge would deny the motion for a preliminary injunction.
Okay.
And would be in court, and it would be expensive.
So the recall, that would be something where, how does that, we go back and say all the people that were voted onto the board, we're now taking off the board, we're selective on how we do that?
My understanding is if the recall passes, all right, we're talking about two different things.
Okay.
There's the recall bill, and then there's the lawsuit.
Okay.
Okay, we've talked about the lawsuit.
Sure. Yep.
If the recall bill is passed, then a petition has to be circulated and signed by approximately 9,500 people to put the issue on the ballot. If the recall passes in the election, then all board members would be removed, and we start from scratch.
All right. I think there is a petition that's currently being passed around, and I think it's got close to 5,000 names on it already. I may be wrong on that, but I think I've seen that or heard that. Have you?
I've seen that.
Okay. 692-2969, 692-2969. Bruce Cunningham, Ed Dennison, school board members, and two of the three that voted to keep Dr. Grimacy. Billy was standing darkening our doorway, which means he wants you guys next. But we thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. We know this has been hard for you. You've served with some of these folks for quite some time, and I know that you're being overloaded with emails and phone calls, but we appreciate everything you guys are doing.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much, Jenny. Appreciate it.